The receptionist humiliates Clint Eastwood, not knowing he owns the hotel. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Clint Eastwood walked into a luxurious boutique hotel in Los Angeles on a crisp autumn evening in late October. He was dressed in his usual understated attire, a black blazer and jeans, and to anyone around him, he looked like just another weary traveler. What no one in the lobby knew, however, was that Clint was not merely a guest at this hotel. He was the secret owner of the entire establishment. Amanda, the receptionist in her early 30s, looked up as Clint approached the desk. With a sharp glance, she immediately assessed him, not recognizing him for who he was. "Excuse me, sir, do you have a reservation? We don't just let anyone walk in here, you know," she snapped. Clint gave her a calm look, unfazed by her tone. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, showing her the confirmation email. Amanda barely glanced at it before looking away dismissively. Amanda rolled her eyes as she continued speaking, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "This isn't the kind of place you can just book on a whim. We cater to an elite clientele, celebrities, CEOs, people who can actually afford it. I suggest you try a motel down the street." Clint, however, remained composed, not showing the slightest hint of anger. His calm demeanor contrasted with Amanda's sharp words, but the flicker of hurt was evident in his eyes. The tension in the lobby grew, and a few guests began to notice the exchange. A young couple sitting by the fireplace could not help but overhear. Emily nudged her partner, David, and whispered, "Isn't that Clint Eastwood? He looks just like him." David squinted, unsure. "It can't be. Why would he be here?" Meanwhile, Amanda continued her tirade, oblivious to the discomfort she was causing not just Clint, but the other guests around her. Just as Amanda was about to call security, James, the hotel manager, entered the lobby. His face immediately went pale when he saw Clint. "What are you doing, Amanda?" James asked, his voice filled with panic. Amanda, confused, gestured toward Clint. "I'm handling a situation," she replied dismissively. James rushed over, his expression a mixture of disbelief and fear. "That's not just a guest," he stammered, his voice trembling. "That's Mr. Eastwood. He owns this hotel." A stunned silence filled the room as Amanda's face drained of color. The truth had been revealed. Clint stood motionless, not needing to say a word. His silence spoke volumes. The weight of the moment fell on everyone in the lobby. Emily and David, sitting by the fireplace, exchanged stunned glances, finally realizing the identity of the man who had been so rudely treated. Amanda, still in shock, stammered an apology, but the words wouldn't come. Clint simply stood there, unwavering, as the reality of the situation settled over the room. Everyone in the lobby felt the shift. It was as if the air had thickened with tension, and now all eyes were on Clint, waiting for him to respond. He didn't need to say anything. His presence alone was enough. Clint remained still, his gaze steady as he looked directly at Amanda. His voice was calm, but firm. "I believe in kindness. It's the foundation of everything we built here. Everyone deserves respect, no matter who they are or how they look." Amanda's confidence faltered, and she stammered an apology, tears welling up in her eyes. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" Her voice trailed off as she struggled to find the right words. But Clint didn't offer immediate forgiveness. He simply let her words hang in the air, unacknowledged for a moment. His silence was deliberate, heavy with meaning. He wasn't going to accept her apology just because it was offered. He wanted her to understand the full weight of what she had done. The room fell completely silent. Amanda, her face flushed with embarrassment, shifted uneasily under the intensity of Clint's gaze. She glanced at the other guests in the lobby, who were now watching the scene unfold with a mix of curiosity and discomfort. The silence between Clint and Amanda stretched on, leaving an uncomfortable tension in the air. Clint's expression remained unchanged, but his eyes spoke volumes. He was teaching more than just a lesson in politeness. He was showing Amanda the difference between an apology and true understanding. In that moment, it was clear that respect wasn't something that could be given lightly, and Clint wanted her to understand the true meaning of the word. Clint's gaze shifted around the room, resting for a moment on the young couple, Emily and David, sitting by the fire. He softened for a brief second before continuing, his voice filled with raw emotion. I wasn't always someone who could afford a place like this. There was a time when I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. That's why I wanted this hotel to be different. A place where everyone feels welcome. Emily and David exchanged a look, their hearts aching for Clint, as they remembered the stories they had read about his past. His vulnerability in that moment struck them deeply. Amanda, realizing the enormity of her mistake, looked at Clint, her eyes filled with guilt and regret. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she stammered, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Eastwood. I let my pride cloud my judgment." Clint paused for a moment, his gaze unwavering. He didn't immediately offer forgiveness. He simply let the silence stretch, making sure Amanda fully understood the weight of her words. The seconds felt like minutes as he silently regarded her, his calm presence standing in stark contrast to her visible discomfort. "Words are easy," Clint said softly, but with an underlying firmness. "But actions matter more. It's how you treat people when no one's watching that defines you." Amanda's shoulders slumped as she absorbed the weight of his words. She opened her mouth to speak again, but found herself at a loss for words, unable to find a way to explain herself. The embarrassment of the situation, compounded by Clint's calm but unyielding stance, made it clear that this was a lesson she would not easily forget. Her apology felt inadequate, but Clint wasn't in a hurry to offer forgiveness. He wanted her to grasp the deeper meaning of his message, that respect wasn't something to be given lightly and should be shown through consistent action, not just words. At that moment, a young boy, no older than 8, approached Clint. He was sitting quietly with his mother in the corner of the room and had been watching the entire scene unfold. The boy hesitantly stepped forward, holding a crumpled piece of paper in his hand. "Mr. Eastwood," the boy said with a trembling voice, "my dad used to watch your movies with me before he went to heaven. He always said you were the nicest person in Hollywood." Clint knelt down to meet the boy's eyes. He took the paper from him and unfolded it carefully. It was a simple drawing of Clint Eastwood, depicted as a superhero. At the top, in shaky handwriting, it read, "To Mr. Eastwood, the real superhero." Clint's heart melted. He pulled the boy into a gentle hug. "Your dad must have been an amazing person," Clint said softly. "Thank you for sharing this with me. It means more than you know." Clint stood and prepared to leave, but before he did, he turned back to address the guests in the lobby one last time. His voice was calm but carried a quiet strength. "This place isn't about luxury or status. It's about people. Let's never forget that." He gently patted the boy on the shoulder and walked out of the hotel, leaving behind a room full of people forever changed by the quiet yet profound impact of his words. As Clint stepped out the door, the guests in the lobby remained silent for a moment, reflecting on his words. The room seemed to hum with a newfound understanding, one that would stay with them long after he was gone. His words had resonated with everyone who had witnessed the scene, and they would remember the lesson he taught them, not just through his words, but through his actions. The next morning, Amanda arrived at the hotel early. Her eyes were red from a restless night of reflection. She had spent hours thinking about her actions, realizing that she needed to change. As she took her place behind the desk, she noticed the boy and his mother walking toward the doors. The boy looked up at her, gave a small wave, and she returned the gesture, a tear slipping down her cheek. In that simple exchange, Amanda understood that Clint's lesson had struck a deep chord within her, and she was determined to do better from that moment forward. Clint entered his private suite later that night, the boy's drawing still clutched in his hand. He placed it gently on the desk by the window, staring at it for a long moment. The words, "the real superhero," echoed in his mind. Clint had faced more loss in his life than most people could imagine, but his ability to show kindness, despite everything he had been through, was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. He may have been a hero on screen, but in that hotel lobby, Clint Eastwood had become something even greater, a symbol of humility, compassion, and the enduring power of kindness. Clint Eastwood has taught us a valuable lesson about living with compassion and patience. That's what truly defines a person's worth. So, what do you think about the lesson Clint Eastwood shared? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this.